Joining us now is Dr. Paul Rahe, professor of history at Hillsdale College and war historian. Dr. Rahe, thank you for your patience and time with us. One day when I meet you, I'll tell you all the fun backstory of our first attempted interview, but now we're live on air. So thank you for your understanding, sir. So Dr. Rahe, you are like an encyclopedia on wars, and you've studied and watched the Middle East for decades. Kind of give us your historical and just commentary on what we've witnessed the last couple of weeks and how it fits in Middle East history.
Okay, let me start by saying that when people talk about a 12-day war, they're wrong. It's been a 46-year war. That war began in 1979 with the overthrow of the Shah and the arrival in Iran of Khomeini, and of a clerical regime that really is foreign to the Shiite tradition, which had been dominant in Iran and in various other places before that time. Ever since that time, starting with the seizure of the people from the American embassy as hostages, there has been a low-level war going on between Iran, the Sunni neighbors of Iran, the United States, and Israel. And every so often, this thing explodes into something larger. And that's what the so-called 12-day war was about. One of the key elements to this was that the Iranians were seeking nuclear weapons and had the means to produce them in short order. And just having that capacity gave them leverage. And they sponsored proxies, the Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Hamas in Gaza. And this is all for the purpose of overcoming the Sunni world. The Israelis and the United States are seen as obstacles to that. We stand in the way, and we do indeed stand in the way. And you can see the manner in which in recent years the Sunni world has lined up with the Israelis, settling all sorts of questions, providing ambassadorial, diplomatic recognition, and so forth. And that's because they're afraid of the Iranians. So there is a split within Islam between Sunni and Shiite that is every bit as important as the division between Catholic and Protestant in, say, the 16th and 17th centuries. It's a source of bloodshed, it's a source of struggle, honor is involved, and the Iranians have been very effective in this. We've helped fund it. Under Obama, we made a deal with them that they would put their nuclear program on hold, and we would provide them with a great deal of money, which then has been spent in attacking us and in attacking the Israelis. So there's a large struggle that's been going on for a long time. It may be over now, but I'm not too terribly confident of that. As long as that regime stays in power, they're likely to pursue this. If you see Khamenei, who is the leader there, being pushed aside, he's an old man, he's 86, and other people coming to the fore, there may be a deal worked out that has some legs to it. Otherwise, not. I don't know if you noticed today, Khamenei appeared and declared victory in this war, despite all the damage that has been done to their nuclear program, to their military, and so forth. So who knows in that regard? There is a larger context for this. And hidden in the background is the fact that there is a kind of rivalry between Turkey, which in the Ottoman period was the great rival of Iran, and the Iranians. So you have a Sunni power in Turkey that is formidable and allied with us, at least nominally. And then you have the Iranians. That has not burst out into violence, but you could see that it was going on in Syria, in which the current regime in Syria was being sponsored. Those people were being sponsored by the Turks. The Iranians were sponsoring the Alawite regime of the Assad family. So there's maneuvering that goes on sort of constantly in that region. And we're drawn into it because it's a source of oil for our allies in Europe and, of course, Japan. An awful lot of oil moves through the Straits of Hormuz, down through the Persian Gulf. It comes from Iran, it comes from Iraq, it comes from Saudi Arabia, and it comes from other countries in that particular region, but it's of strategic importance because our allies are dependent on that. For a time, we were dependent on it too, until we began to frack. And we're now an exporter of oil, although not on a huge level. The other thing is, this is tied into the larger world. The things that we do or don't do have an impact on the calculation of people elsewhere. To go back a little ways, when Obama was president, he declared a red line in Syria, and then they broke the red line, and he did absolutely nothing. He then tried to suck up to the Iranian regime, showing weakness again. And it's not a very big surprise that in 2014, the Russians will move into Crimea and will move into eastern Ukraine. They figured they could get away with it, and they did. The follow-up to that is that the Chinese take the reefs in the South China Sea and begin to militarize them, trying to turn the South China Sea into a Chinese lake. So if you show weakness, everybody's going to move against you in ways they think they can get away with. If you show strength, it's just the opposite.
So
for example,
finish your thought, please. No, please, Professor, finish your thought.
Well, I don't believe that Putin would have gone into Ukraine in 2014, in 2022, if Donald Trump had been president. And the reason is, when Soleimani, who was head of the Revolutionary Guard in Iran, instructed the militias that they sponsor in Iraq to attack the American base with missiles, we assassinated him. Trump had ordered it, boom. I'm not the only one who thinks this. I sat at a dinner 3 years ago with a columnist of the New York Times who shall remain nameless, but she has red hair. A New York Times speaker was speaking about Ukraine. She got up and she asked him if he thought that had Trump been president, Putin would have gone into Ukraine. And the fellow then went into the Russian collusion nonsense. And I leaned over to her and I said, "You think otherwise, don't you?" And she shook her head, "Yes." And I said, "It's Nixon, isn't it?" And she says, "That's it. That's exactly it." Now, the key thing about Nixon is he was unpredictable. Afraid of him.
That's an incredible story about Maureen Dowd. So stay right there, Dr. Rahe. We have you for another segment. So, Dr. Rahe, what you're articulating is Shia supremacism, where the Iranian regime has an ideological fervor to want to take over the entire region. What would you say is the status or the health of that regime? Can we tell? Please tell us, Dr. Rahe.
Well, we really can't tell. At least I really can't tell. We may have intelligence agents there who know quite a bit. The CIA may know quite a bit. I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Israelis know quite a bit. But I don't think this is a good day for that political regime. A lot of damage has been done. They've shown weakness. I mean, Khomeini may claim victory, but the whole world, including all the people in Iran, know that this was a grave defeat for Iran. And weakness in that part of the world, in Iran and in the Arab countries, isn't tolerated for long. So I think it's possible that there will be a change within the regime or even a change of regime. One of the things to know about the Iranian regime is it's not a monarchy. It's not an ordinary tyranny. It's an oligarchy. There's a sort of group of insiders, including the leaders of the Revolutionary Guard and so forth, but also the people in parliament and the mullahs. And you can bet that there are conversations going on now about what changes need to be made. And at a certain point, those changes could be serious. In the year 2002, after 9/11, I used to live in Turkey, so I know that part of the world a bit. And I went back to Turkey, seeing old friends, but I was also invited to a party with Turkish journalists. There was an Iranian journalist there. There had been demonstrations in Iran, spontaneous demonstrations at soccer games, pro-American demonstrations in the wake of 9/11. So I asked this Iranian journalist, is the regime going to go under? And he said, no. He said, the people who run this country were graduate students in Eastern Europe during the Soviet period. They know how to control a population. There's one thing they don't know how to control: their own children. I don't know if his story about Eastern Europe is correct, but I can tell you they have controlled that population. It's now 46 years old. At that time, it was younger. But one of the things you can see in these sorts of regimes is they run out of revolutionary fervor when the generation that made the revolution passes from the scene. Now, it's a bit early. Those people are in their 60s now and in their 70s. They haven't passed from the scene. But it could be enough of them have passed from the scene, and that there are people in positions of responsibility who are younger, the sort of Gorbachevs of the Iranian Revolution. That is to say, people who were not there during the revolution, and they may think a little bit differently, especially since the defeats they've suffered in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Yemen, and now in the home country. So they might want to move away from a set of policies that brings this sort of thing on them. Now, if Khamenei remains in power, 86 years old, and if he dominates, I doubt that there will be change. But if he gets pushed aside, everything's open. And there's a very large population in Iran that has never liked this regime. Mm-hmm. And so there might be an opening in that direction.
If there was ever an opportunity for the people of Persia to rise up, I would imagine this would be it. They, at least from the outside, they seem remarkably vulnerable. And they're a proud people. They are an ancient power. And despite the spin that the Ayatollah is giving, they were humiliated on the world stage. They had no air defense systems. I mean, 2 foreign countries had complete control of the skies over Iran. It was a joke. Dr. Rahe, we're out of time. Thank you for your time. Final thoughts, 20 seconds, sir.
Okay. The Russians and the Chinese are watching, and they're beginning to think, maybe we should be a little bit careful.
Well said. Be a little bit careful. Donald Trump did not just drop a bomb on Fordo. It was a memo of understanding to our enemies that was delivered straight to the desk of Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, and they took careful notes at the military precision and the willingness of the commander-in-chief. Dr. Rahe, thank you so much.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.